Hello everyone, very good morning and welcome back to Crack Grade B. So we are going to discuss about Ministry of MSMEs related scheme, right? Yesterday we were discussing about how the efforts have been taken in the Northeast region. Now we are going to cover that particular scheme and then we'll be moving forward. So see, promotion of MSMEs in the northeastern region. So yesterday we talked about that how we are going to promote the MSMEs in the northeastern region by establishing mini technology centers. These technology centers will work for what? These will work to supplement manufacturing, testing, packaging, research and development, product and processes innovation, as well as training for natural resources related technologies. What natural resources? Your fruits, spices, agriculture, forestry, sericulture, bamboo, etc. Right? Geotagging of the project is mandatory. Now talking about the assistance, we had also talked about assistance that Government of India has decided that they will be providing 90% of the project cost. Now what can be the maximum project cost? So maximum project cost shall be 15 crore. Into this project cost of land will not be included. That means government is not going to provide you any grant if you are purchasing a land, right? Obviously, because the value of land increases. If anyone is investing in land in future, the prices are definitely going to be up and government is not going to promote this kind of thing. Government will never give you the grant or anything in which cost of land is included, right? Next is, if you are talking about upgradation of infrastructure. So out of the total project cost, you can just take 1 crore rupees for the upgradation purposes. Apart from that, all the other amount of money should be going to establishing a new mini technology center. There is a difference of establishing a new infrastructure as well as upgrading the existing infrastructure. Both are different and government says we are going to give you 1 crore rupees in order to upgrade the infrastructure. Good morning. Next is development of new and existing industrial states. So for both we have the component new as well as the existing. The financial assistance will be 90%. Maximum project cost the government is going to give is 15 crore, right? For new industrial states, and where you are going to develop the existing industrial state, so government is going to reduce the support and government is only going to grant you just 10 crores. Next is development of tourism. So for tourism, your maximum project cost could be 5 crore, and obviously whatever is your project cost, government is going to give 90% of it with a maximum project cost of 5 crore. Next is what is the time period? So time period is also given. Whatever project you are undertaking, it should get completed within a period of 36 months. So this is the time limit which is being granted under this particular project. Next is public procurement policy. See, with every step of government tries to do or adopt a welfare approach. That means whatever government tries to do, government thinks that if we can make this decision as inclusive as possible. So what happens is all the government departments, obviously they are offices as well, and they also need the materials as well as other things in order to operate the office, right? So out of this purchases, the procurement policy mandates that at least 25% should be purchased from the MSMEs. Because why? We want to support the small entrepreneurs. So therefore government says that whatever a government department is going to purchase, Please ensure that at least 1/4 or the 25% is from the small entrepreneurs, that means from MSME sector. Out of this 25% as well, there is a separate allocation for the SC/ST and a separate allocation for the women owned MSMEs. So for both of them, okay, so I'll definitely take this concern of yours. I'll ask him. I guess he will be up to it. If this is important, he might already have think about it. But still, if you're asking, I'm going to tell him that please make a video on it. Next, see, public procurement policies. Yes. So what we have talked about here is this public procurement policy was for MSME Order 2018. It has been notified under the MSME Act 2006. The policy is effective from 1st April 2019. Objective of this particular policy is promotion and development of micro and small enterprises by supporting them in the marketing of the product as well as services rendered by them. However, policy rests upon the principle of competitiveness and they adhere to sound procurement practices and the execution of supplies in accordance with the system. Now, what are the features of this particular policy? Let's see. Every central ministry, department, PSUs, they shall be setting an annual target of 25% procurement from the MSE sector. Now, a sub-target of 4% out of 25% target should be earmarked for the MSMEs owned by the SC/ST entrepreneurs. Can you tell me, we have already read about a scheme of SC/ST entrepreneurs, right? Can you tell me about the name of that particular scheme? We have just read it yesterday or day before yesterday. Overall procurement goal of minimum 25%. You have to tell me. There is a scheme which is in relation with this particular point. You got to tell me that particular scheme. Now next is overall procurement goal of minimum 25% has become mandatory from the 1st April 2015. Special provision for micro and small enterprises which are owned by women. 3% from within the 25% target shall be earmarked for procurement from micro and small enterprises which are owned by women. So we have made a special provision for women. We have made a special provision for SC/ST entrepreneurs. Now, next thing is there is an exemption also from the payment of earnest money. Earnest money is whenever you enter into a contract, you have to make a certain payment in order to fructify the contract. Fructify the contract means in order to ensure that the contract is going to happen. So you can understand this particular thing with the purchase of flats. So whenever you go to see a flat and you like it, what you do is you pay a booking amount, right? That booking amount is that you have liked this flat and now you have booked it for yourself. Now nobody else can place a claim on it as a buyer. So that is called as earnest money, and government is going to provide you exemption on this. If you are an MSME and you are entering into a contract with the government agency, then you will be having a exemption from the earnest money. Next is MSME quoting prices within price band L1 plus 15%, where L1 is from someone else, then they shall be allowed to supply at least 25% of the tendered value at L1 subject to lowering of prices by the MSME to L1. Now what is this L1? L1 is, see, Government of India has the rules and regulations for it. Government of India, now they have changed, but the Government of India works on the low cost principle, that whosoever is applying for the tender, if they apply at the, whosoever applies for the lowest price, the tender will go to them. Tender means the contract will go to them. So that's what they are saying over here, that if they are supplying within the price band, then they will be allowed to supply at least 25% subject to lowering of the price bands. There are 358 items which has been reserved for procurement from MSMEs, and Ministry shall prepare the annual procurement plan and it will upload to their official website. So this is it, and next scheme is Khadi Gramodyog Vikas Yojana. Khadi Gramodyog Vikas Yojana means they want to establish different kinds of industries at the rural areas, because there is a statutory body KVIC, and KVIC is working regarding this particular thing. So you will see that the different kinds of businesses will be supported and set up under this particular scheme in the rural areas. See, so the ministry has merged different existing Khadi village industry schemes under umbrella scheme of Khadi Gramodyog Vikas Yojana. Khadi Gramodyog Vikas Yojana is a central sector scheme and there is no state component involved in this particular scheme. What is a central sector scheme? What is a central sector scheme? You've got to tell me this. Next is, it has got three major components. Number one is Khadi Vikas Yojana scheme. Now what we are doing under this particular scheme, Khadi Vikas Yojana, that means automatically you want to develop the Khadi related sector. How you are going to develop? Cotton, woolen, silk and the other existing schemes like modified market development assistance, interest subsidy eligibility certificate, Khadi Reforms Development Program, Workshed Scheme for Khadi Artisans, strengthening infrastructure for existing Khadi institutions and assisting for the marketing infrastructure. Do not worry, these are the separate components or a separate mixture through which you are going to support the Khadi. We are going to talk about each one of them separately later on, but yes, very good. AFS, it is 100%. See what kind of names you people put. So 100% funded by Government of India, and there is one more component to it. What is it? Whenever you are talking about central sector or centrally sponsored scheme, there are always two components. Number one component is obviously in relation to funding, and number two component is always in relation to implementation. So who's going to implement central sector scheme? Yes, good. So next point is implementation. Who is going to implement central sector scheme? So union government will be responsible for its implementation as well. So next is we are going to talk about all of these later on. Let's see Gramodyog Vikas Yojana. So first component was specifically focused on Khadi. Now here you are focusing on the village industries. Now what kind of village industries you are focusing on and what type of support you are going to provide? So you are going to provide common facilities, technology modernization, training as well as the other support services. But see what kind of industries we are focusing upon? Handmade paper, leather, plastic industry, wellness and cosmetic industry, mineral based industry, agro based and food processing industry, rural engineering and the new technology industry, as well as the service industry. So these are all the types of industries that you will be focusing under this particular component. Next, talking about the Khadi grant. So Khadi grant, who is going to provide this? So it covers all the establishment expenses of the offices or staff members of the KVIC. Objective is increase productivity wages of Khadi artisans, improve infrastructure, increased Khadi production, development of village industries, revive the traditional and inherent skills of rural artisans, renovate and modernize sales outlets and promote marketing and exports. So these are all the objectives. Not that much important, because once you understand the crux of the scheme, not very important. Now this is the particular thing which is important over here, that what you are going to do for the Khadi upliftment. So number one is modified market development assistance. Now whatever is your prime cost, Please someone tell me what does prime cost means. So subsidy at the rate 35% on prime cost for cotton or muslin, wool and polyvastra, and 20% on the prime cost for the silk khadi. So this is the support which you are going to provide. Now what is prime cost? Please tell me what is prime cost. What do you understand by prime cost? If you have read the costing related lectures, I hope that you understand the prime cost means direct material, direct labor as plus direct expenses. Sometimes what we do is we only include direct material and direct labor. We tend to forget direct expenses. So please remember, prime cost is the summation of all these three and nothing to be left over here. Yes. Now next see interest subsidy eligibility certificate scheme. Under this particular thing, what you are going to do is you are going to provide the interest subsidy. Khadi institutions, they only have to pay only 4% interest rate. Means whatever bank is charging. Suppose bank is going to charge you 8% interest rate. So Khadi institutions need to pay just 4% and the remaining 4% will be provided as the subsidy, and this cost will be borne by the KVIC. Right? Next is workshed scheme for the Khadi artisans. Workshed scheme for Khadi artisans means, see, it is a labor intensive work. Producing a khadi related material is a labor intensive work, and mostly these particular works are done, these are cottage based industries. Cottage based industries means they are performed within the what you can say home premises of the artisan. So in order to give a particular area or a specific space for performing khadi related work, this particular scheme has been started. Government is going to provide you assistance on this based on whether you are an individual or you are a group artisan. Group artisan means you are a group of few people together and you perform the work together. So for that, government also gives you the special assistance so that you can develop the workshed for your working areas, or simply you can develop your own working area. Government is going to provide you financial assistance for that. So see over here, if you are an individual, then for 20 square meters area, government is going to give you 120,000 rupees or 75% of cost of workshed including the toilet, whichever is less. Now this particular ratio is 90% for the northeastern region. If you are working for a group workshed or you want to develop a group workshed, so area becomes 10 square meter per artisan. Now, how many number of artisans you have? It depends on that. Government is going to provide you 80,000 or 75% of the cost of workshed including toilet, whichever is less. Why the support has declined over here? Why the support has declined over here? Any logic which you would like to give me? Why the support has declined over here? Even if you do not want to tell me, please think it for yourself. Next thing is strengthening infrastructure of existing weak khadi institutions and assistance for marketing infrastructure. Now see, for marketing related infrastructure, financial assistance for revival of khadi institution with ceiling limit of 15 lakhs will be provided. Financial assistance under marketing infrastructure for renovation of departmental sales outlet of the KVIC and institutional sales within the ceiling limit of the 25 lakhs. Next is other components, Center of Excellence for Khadi Quality Assurance, Marketing Science and Technology. It will be provided. Now scheme is applicable for whom? So this particular scheme is applicable for khadi institutions which are registered with the KVIC or State Khadi and Village Industries Board. Khadi artisans are eligible. The beneficiaries may be identified by the KVIC, NGOs, Khadi industries, village industries, district industries, etc. Age group lies in between 18 to 55 years. Few more of qualities, that having a valid Aadhaar card or any other identity card whichever has been issued by the government. One person from one family is eligible for assistance under this particular scheme. Persons who have already availed benefits under any other government scheme for similar purpose is not eligible, and preference will be given to the people who belong to SC, ST, women, unemployed youth or the BPL category, etc. In short, weaker section will be provided with a preference. Next is Self-Reliant India. This is a fund which has been created. Now, this fund also has the same purposes whatever we have studied till now, to support MSMEs wherever they require the fund. Now, what is difference in it is nothing is too much difference over here. There is a fund called as a Self-Reliant India Fund, and apart from it, this is a mother fund, and then there are our daughter funds as well. So this particular fund is going to support the daughter funds, and these daughter funds in return will support the MSMEs. So what is the concept of mother and daughter funds? So you can understand it in a simpler way. Mother funds is the main fund, and the daughter funds are the smaller funds which are directly connected to the MSMEs which are in the need, right? So let's understand what is this particular fund about, where does it get its funding from, what kind of, see, there are alternate investment funds, AIF. They have been mandated by the SEBIs with the regulation of regulations came in the year 2012. Alternative investment funds are different, and here you have got a category wise funding like alternative investment fund type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 are those funds who are predominantly investing in the startups, small medium enterprises and all such new enterprises. Your alternative investment fund 2, these are in relation to those like private equity funds as well as the debt funds. They do not borrow until and unless they require fund for their operational things. Otherwise, they do not borrow, right? So these are those particular kinds of fund. We are going to see that Self-Reliant India Fund is a alternative investment type fund too. So it is in the form of fund of funds. Fund of funds means there is a master fund and then there are some smaller funds attached to it. So I will be calling this master fund as the fund of funds. It will be oriented towards providing funding support to daughter funds for onward provision to MSMEs as growth capital. That means we'll be providing funding to this, and this particular fund will be providing funding to these particular smaller funds. Now, how does it will work and how does it will provide funding? So it will enhance equity like financing to the MSMEs, supporting faster growth of MSME business, supporting entrepreneurs which have the potential to graduate beyond the MSME bracket, supporting MSMEs which help making India self-reliant by producing the relevant technologies, goods and services. The target group of fund of fund funding through the daughter funds would be MSMEs. So obviously we are going to provide the fundings to the MSMEs. Next is non-profit institutions, NBFCs, financial inclusion, microcredit sector, SSGs, they shall not be eligible for the consideration. Previous 3 years CAGR will be considered and due weightage will be given to the potential for growth. CAGR is compounded annual growth rate. I repeat, what is the full form of CAGR? Compounded annual growth rate. Where you see that what is the growth percentage that you have achieved during the year. Next is what are the highlights of this particular fund or what are the features of this particular fund. It will going to have a mother fund or daughter fund structure with a corpus of INR 10,000 crores as mother funds. Who is the anchor investor? Government of India is the anchor investor. That means where is the funding in this particular fund will come from. So Government of India is the primary investor into this. Mother fund of 10,000 crore provided by Government of India shall stand leveraged to the extent of 50,000 crore, 10,000 crores from the Government of India and 40,000 crores from the daughters fund. The mother fund will be in the category of alternative investment fund 2. The mother fund will be unfettered and will invest in the downstream daughter funds, which may be category 1 or 2 registered with the SEBI, who in turn will be investing in the MSME unit. So the difference is only that alternative investment fund category 1, they can have debt and equity capital also, and they predominantly invest in the new startups, new businesses and the SME enterprises. Alternative investment fund category 2, they do not take or they do not borrow until unless in order to meet their operational requirements, and they basically are in the type of private equity or the debt funds. So these are the categorizations of both of these kind of funds. I'll suggest you please do not go that much into detail for this. Having a basic idea of AIF 1 and AIF 2 is the more than enough. 80% of the funds will have to be mobilized by the daughter funds. So if you are going to give funding, then 80% of funds will be mobilized by daughter funds and 20% will be backed by the mother fund. The minimum fund which needs to be released and sanctioned to the daughter fund would be 25 crores and the multiple of 5 crores thereafter. MSME, they generally procure debt from the financial institutions, and the thumb rule is that the financial institutions provide debt keeping a debt to equity ratio of 3:1. That means they have to keep at least this much particular debt equity ratio. SRI funds will have a life of 15 years and it will be a revolving fund. Investment period is 13 years. That means it can invest for a period of 13 years. Now tell me, what is the meaning of revolving fund? Now the questions which I am asking from you, whether or not you answer to me, please answer it for yourself. I have already explained that what is a revolving fund. Please get to know that what is a revolving fund for yourself. And if you know about it, please tell me. Few other miscellaneous things which you could understand about this. So, fund managers should be having the experience of at least 5 years, right? They should be having an experience of managing a fund which is minimum of 500 crore. Mother fund, it will be anchored by the NSIC. Venture Capital Fund Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of the NSIC, a mini Ratna corporation of the under Ministry of MSME. This particular organization has appointed SBI Cap Ventures Limited. This is an asset management committee in order to operate this particular fund, that is fund of fund, mother fund. This particular fund has to pay 0.5% of the fees to the asset management company who is going to operate this particular fund. Next is International Cooperation Scheme. Now what we are going to do over here is, we are trying that our MSMEs should be enabled to go international. How to go international? That they should be able to export their products in the international arena. See, going international or doing maximum exports is our topmost priority. As a nation, we want to decrease our imports and we want to increase our exports. This is very much understood. This is an economy related concept. Why? Because exports strengthen our rupee. So exports leads to coming of precious foreign exchange, right? So these are all the benefits of it, and obviously this leads to deepening of market in the Indian economy as well. As much of export you are going to do, you are going to invest that particular fund back in India, and this will be leading to a new growth story. Therefore, in every sector, government focuses that on how we can lead to increase in the export market. Can you guys tell me, this is unrelated, just how you people ask me unrelated question, I am also going to ask you an unrelated question. My question is, what is India's percentage of what you can say participation in export of the world? So whatever export or whatever export related trade that happens in the worldwide, what is the India's participation percentage in that? I wish you guys know this, and if you don't, please go and search for it. You will be surprised. Right? So currently we are the most populous nation on the earth, and just go and see our trade related participation in the world trade. So this is your homework. Please try to find out it. Now, international cooperation scheme, we are going to support our MSMEs so that they can go global. So this particular scheme has been approved for the financial cycle of 2021 to 2025. Aims, what are the aims of this particular scheme is the capacity building MSMEs for entering the export market by facilitating their participation in the international exhibitions, fairs, conferences, seminars, buyer-seller meets. How we are going to support them? So we are going to reimburse various costs which are attached to it. Correct? In accordance with the approval accorded, this particular scheme, that is international cooperation scheme, stands revised and will now have following three subcomponents. Now what are these subcomponents? Number one is market development assistance. Number two is capacity building of the first time exporters. First time exporters are going to have a lot more benefits in terms of reimbursements and all those things. Next is framework for international marketing intelligence dissemination. Now see, what are the activities which are covered under subcomponent 1. What is my subcomponent 1? That is market development assistance. So we are going to give the platform for participation of MSMEs in the international exhibitions, trade fairs, buyer-seller meets in the foreign countries. We are going to organize international conferences, summits, workshops, seminars on the themes relevant to MSME sectors, which are going to be organized in India by industry associations and the government organizations. Under this particular component 2 is we are going to provide a support to the first time exporters. So be very careful that see what kind of support we are going to provide them. Incidental cost, that is registration cum membership certificate, export insurance premium, quality certification. These are all the costs that one first time exporter has to incur. Now all these will be reimbursed to the first time MSE exporter. The ministry has signed Memorandum of Understanding with the Export Promotion Councils, Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of Limited, NSIC, as implementing agencies for the reimbursement of registration membership certification fee, export insurance premium, as well as testing and the quality certification to the MSMEs. So as on date, subcomponent 1 and subcomponent 2 are in the operation. The financial assistance towards cost incurred by the first time MSE exporters on the export shipments. So we discussed it in brief. Now we are going to discuss this in detail, that what is the kind of support that we are going to give to our first time exporters in detail. See, so registration cum membership certificate and the charges of fee which are paid by the exporter to related export promotion council. Now 75% of the cost whatever you have paid, subject to maximum of 20,000, whichever is lower will be paid subject to the quarterly reporting by the EPCs as per PSCI format. Next, insurance premium which is paid to the Export Credit Guarantee Corporation. right? So maximum financial assistance in a financial year will be 10,000 or actual, whichever is lower. Next, the fee which an exporter is going to pay for testing and quality certification. So 75% of the testing and quality certification with a ceiling of 1 lakh, whichever is lower, will be paid. Now financial assistance will be allowed for maximum of 3 certificates per financial year with a ceiling of 1 lakh per MSE units. The certificates for which financial assistance is requested should be attained within the same financial year. So this one is more important for us. Next, we are going to talk about the MSE champion schemes. So under this particular scheme, what we want to do is, this particular scheme has got twin components. Twin components means, first of all, we want to take care about the credit related needs, and the next thing we want to talk about is the technology upgradation, right? So there are so many new technologies which are being introduced, but see, MSME units are not in the position to upgrade to a newer technology. Why? Because they have chose to remain dwarf over the years. I hope that you know about the problem of dwarfism in the MSME sector in India. Do you know about it? At least say yes or no if you know about it. So, and if you don't, please read about it. I have told you one more time earlier as well. So what happens under this, I'm not going to talk about this in detail, but I'm going to tell you a thing about it, that what happens is, have you seen so much kind of so much support that government is providing you MSME units? We have read so many schemes for the past 4 to 5 days. We are just reading the schemes which has been launched by Ministry of MSMEs for the MSME sector. So there are so much of support that government is providing to these MSME units. Have we seen any specific scheme for an enterprise which is not falling in the criteria of MSME? Right? Please remember the categorization where we talked about that who's going to be a micro enterprise, small enterprise, and the medium enterprise. Can you tell me that what was the investment criteria? What was the investment criteria to be a medium enterprise? So as soon as an enterprise goes above, then the categorization of a medium enterprise, all kinds of supports which are belonging to MSME unit are withdrawn, and in lure of these particular supports and in the greed of these particular supports, your MSME units, they do not want to grow further, and they do not want to buy, what you can say, diversify them in order to become big corporates. Government wants them to become big corporates, but they themselves do not want to, because they love the support as much, not the growth story. So this is the problem of dwarfism in the MSME sector of India. Our economic survey of the, not the current year, but I guess last to last year economic survey has covered this particular problem extensively. So this comes from there. Now let's talk about MSME champion scheme. So this particular scheme has been implemented. Earlier, this particular scheme was named as the Credit Linked Capital Subsidy and the Technology Upgradation Scheme for promoting competitiveness among the MSME enterprises. It was done by the way of wastage reduction. Now, I hope that we have already read about all of these concepts in detail in our costing related class. What are these concepts? Lean manufacturing, support for design improvement, building awareness on intellectual property rights, zero defect and zero effect scheme, Z scheme. So MSE champion scheme has been formulated through standing finance committee by merging all 6 components of the erstwhile technology upgradation scheme. Now what is the objective? We want to modernize the processes of the MSMEs. We want to reduce the wastages. We want to sharpen business competitiveness as well as their national and global reach. There are three components to it. First is we want to make MSEs sustainable, then we want to make MSEs competitive, and then lastly we want to make them innovative by providing them awareness on the intellectual property rights as well as digital and the design of the MSMEs related product. Intellectual property right is if you have invented a particular kind of product, before it goes in the hands of someone else, you should be able to patent it or copyright it, whatever kind of product you are selling. Yes, for medium it is 50 crore and 250 crore. So they do not want to grow beyond that particular limit. So this is the problem of MSMEs. Lastly, next, let's talk about these particular schemes. So MSME, we want to make the MSME sustainable by having this Z certification. Z certification is zero defect, zero effect practices. Here we want to encourage them in order to become the champions. What is the benefits of it? Obviously, zero defect and zero effect means you are going to reduce your wastages, your productivity is going to increase, you are going to save the energy, optimally using the natural resources and expanding their market. All these things are very easy to understand if there is certain process happens. And if you are going to, what is zero defect? That you do not have to waste any resource. If you will not have to waste resources, you are going to save on so much energy. That means electricity related energy. If you are using any kind of fuel in order to pump your machine, then that particular fuel will be saved. As many defects you will reduce, as much benefits you are going to receive. Now, what is the aim over here is, we want to enhance the competitiveness of an MSME by assessment modification through guidance, hand-holding, managerial technological intervention, and not just the certification. Now, what is the cost of certification? If you pass the level 1, then 10,000 rupees. For certification level number 2, 40,000 rupees is the cost. And for certification level 3, that is the gold. Obviously, as much this certification depends on the percentages of defect you are still making, right? So this is a work in progress. How you progress over it. If you are making more amounts of defects than level 1, lesser level 2, and if you have reduced completely any kind of defects, that means you have achieved a level 3, that means a gold level. Your MSMEs, they will also get the subsidies as per the following structure on the cost of Z certification. Micro enterprises will get a subsidy of 80%. Small enterprises will get a subsidy of 60%, and the medium enterprises will get a subsidy of 50%. This is similar in form of discount, right? So the fees you have to pay, you will get a discount on it depending on your MSE status, what kind of MSME you are. There will be an additional subsidy of 10% for all those MSMEs which are owned by women, SC/ST entrepreneurs, or MSMEs who are in the northeastern region, Himalayan region, left-wing extremism, or island territories. 5% for MSMEs which are also a part of Spurti or micro and small enterprise cluster development program. Spurti scheme, we have already talked about it. Joining reward of 10,000 will become free if availed. Up to 75% of total cost of certification, with the maximum ceiling of subsidy being 50,000, and up to 2 lakh for hand holding consultancy in order to achieve the next certification level. Up to 3 lakhs for moving towards zero effect solution, pollution control measures, as well as the cleaner technologies. So these are all the benefits that an MSME will receive. Now, one more thing I wanted to ask you, do you understand what our aspirational districts are all about? What our aspirational districts are all about? Do you understand the meaning of aspirational districts? If you don't, please try to search on it. These have been, I'll tell you a brief onto it, that these are the districts which have been identified by the Niti Aayog in order to develop them on the various criterias of development. Because these have been identified by, because they are the backward regions where development is needed at most. Next is lean related, we want to make our MSMEs competitive. So the general approach of the scheme, it involves engagement of lean manufacturing consultants to work with selected MSEs in the chosen cluster with financial support by the government. It will be implemented in the mini clusters for all over the country. Now, if you will see, there are so many things. We have got total quality management, we have got total productivity management related thing, we have got Kaizen concept, we have also got lean manufacturing, we have got your the one which we read right now. So all these things are focusing over just similar kinds of concept. There are a few of the changes here and there, but mostly they focus on how to increase the productivity. Lean manufacturing, if your entity is having a manufacturing related setup, then it is very beneficial for you. What we try to do over here is, see, if a process needs just 2 people, then why you are employing 4 people over there? This is going to reduce, this is not going to increase the time or speed of your work. This is only going to reduce the work speed. Why? Because the 4 people will have disagreements among them. They might involve in useless talks and all those things. So what lean manufacturing indicates towards is that throughout your manufacturing process, you should have a direct relationship among the person responsible to do the work and the work. There should be a direct relationship. There should not be any useless person, or as much as you can try to reduce that particular thing. What they also say, that wherever it is possible to bring up the technology, please introduce technology over there, so that human intervention can be made less and it can make your process simply faster. So these are all, this is the concept of lean manufacturing. Now see over here, the same thing which we have already read under Z scheme. So reducing wastage, increasing productivity, introducing innovation, good management, culture of continuous improvement. Financial assistance will be provided to MSME units who are going to adopt lean tools or the techniques. Basic free, intermediate 1,20,000 and the advanced is 2,40,000. Subsidy on the cost of implementation, 90% of the cost of implementation will be provided as the subsidy. Now these are the benefits that depends on the type of technique you are using. If you are going for the advanced level of technique or the best level of the lean manufacturing, then this is the support that you will be getting. Next is, what is the coverage and the eligibility? So scheme is open to all micro, small and medium manufacturing enterprises throughout the country. The units should be registered with the Ministry of MSME Udyog Aadhar Memorandum. Next is MSME Innovative Scheme. We have already talked about Udyog Aadhar, and this particular scheme has been launched in, why? Because we want to identify each and every MSME unit. All those MSMEs that, suppose as a person we have got Aadhar number, right? So in the similar fashion, MSMEs also have a Aadhar number that is called as Udyog Aadhar number, and it leads to various kind of facilities towards them. They can register with the Ministry of MSME Udyog platform, and apart from it, they can take the benefits of the different kinds of schemes which have been run for their benefit. So there are benefits for registering on this particular portal. MSME's innovative schemes, and this particular scheme is the amalgamation of incubation, design and the intellectual property rights related support which is going to be provided. So these are the 3 things that we are going to do under this particular component. At the highest level of this particular scheme, Project monitoring and the advisory committee will guide, review and monitor overall direction for implementation of the scheme. Additional secretary and development commissioner will be the chairman of this particular committee. Registration as a host institutes like technical colleges, universities, professional institutes, R&D institutes, NGOs, they can apply for registration as a host institute and they can act as a business incubator. I hope that you understand what is the process of incubation. Incubation means when you are going to start your new business, at that particular time you need the support, you need a protective environment, you need to do research on the product that you have made, you want to have an additional what you can say, a person to discuss with or to take his whatever guidelines he is going to provide. So incubation means when you start your project or when you test your project in a secured environment, that is called as incubation, right? So incubation is very important because it leads to testing your project idea or your business idea in a limited set of conditions. You can see that what are the returns that you are going to get or what are the risks that are attached to your business, and accordingly you can take on the decision that whether you have to take this business further on or you want to stop here and itself. So you must have studied or listened about the pilot basis implementation. What is that pilot basis implementation? Suppose I have launched a product. Now I will test this particular product with the 10 people whom I know, and I'll take the feedback from them. I'll develop the product, I'll test with them, and I'll write their feedback, and after that, if this pilot is successful, after that I am going to implement my project on a larger scale. So this is what we know as the incubation thing. We are going to talk about incubation a bit more, but the time is up for us. So this is it, what I'm going to cover in this particular session. Tomorrow will be the last class on the schemes which has been launched by Ministry of MSMEs, and we are going to complete with this particular lecture. So thank you so much for joining in, and I hope you have understood something out of this lecture. If you did, then please do not forget to like this video. Thank you so much.